Have you ever held a photo of a loved one who's passed, traced their face with your finger, and wished, just for a moment, you could hear their thoughts, understand their memories, feel the essence of who they were one last time? What if I told you that the barrier between memory and oblivion, between the living mind and its echo, might be thinner than we ever imagined? Forget science fiction for a second. We're talking about real, albeit theoretical, breakthroughs happening right now. Imagine technology so advanced it can model the intricate dance of neurons that makes up a human brain. We're not talking about chips the size of postage stamps anymore. We're talking about computational power harnessing the bizarre rules of quantum mechanics. Think about the processing power needed. It's staggering. Yet, researchers are conceptually exploring using quantum AI to build a digital twin of a human brain. This isn't about bringing anyone back from the dead, let's be crystal clear on that. It's about asking a profound question. Can the ghost of memory, the patterns that define our experiences, be captured and replayed in a digital realm? Stick with me, because what they're theorizing, well, it sent ripples of awe, excitement, and maybe even a little fear through the scientific world. So what exactly is a digital twin? In the world we know, it's already a powerful tool. Imagine engineers building a virtual replica of a jet engine. They can stress test it, simulate thousands of flight hours, predict failures, and optimize performance, all without touching the physical engine. Think about doctors creating a digital model of a patient's heart before a complex surgery, allowing them to practice the procedure, anticipate complications, and personalize the approach. These twins are incredibly useful reflections of physical reality. Now take that concept and apply it to the most complex object known in the universe, the human brain. Researchers in this theoretical experiment envisioned taking this idea to an entirely new frontier. They proposed using not just standard artificial intelligence, but quantum AI. Why quantum? Because the human brain isn't a simple calculator. It's a symphony of billions of neurons firing in incredibly complex, interconnected patterns. Classical computers, even supercomputers, struggle to truly mimic this level of simultaneous activity. They process things sequentially, like reading a book one word at a time. Quantum AI, leveraging principles like superposition and entanglement, is different. Think of it like this. A classical bit is either a 0 or a 1. A quantum bit, or qubit, can be a 0, a 1, or both at the same time, superposition. This allows quantum AI to explore a vast number of possibilities simultaneously, much like how our brains seem to juggle countless streams of information at once. It's like being able to read every word on a page, understand their connections, and grasp the overall meaning all in a single instant. This capability makes quantum AI uniquely suited, at least in theory, for modeling the staggering complexity of neural networks. The theoretical goal wasn't just to create a static map of the brain, like a detailed road atlas. It was to build a dynamic model, one that could simulate the process of brain activity, particularly the elusive mechanism of memory recall. It's the difference between having a blueprint of a house and having a simulation where you can watch people walk through the rooms, turn lights on and off, and live within its walls. Okay, how would one even begin to build this digital brain? The theoretical process starts with data, immense amounts of it. Researchers would hypothetically feed the quantum AI system everything they could gather. Detailed brain scans, high-resolution MRI and fMRI scans showing the physical structure, the folds of the cortex, the bundles of white matter connecting different regions. Think of this as the physical architecture. Neural connectivity maps, connectomes, painstakingly mapped diagrams showing which neurons connect to which, like an incredibly detailed wiring diagram for the brain's communication network. This is about the pathways information could travel. Recorded electrical activity, data from EEG, electroencephalography, or even more invasive techniques like electrocorticography, ECG, used in some epilepsy patients, capturing the actual patterns of neural firing, the brain waves, the electrical buzz of thought and processing from living brains. This is the dynamic activity, the signals flowing through the wires. This ocean of data wouldn't just be stored. It would be used to train the quantum AI. The AI would learn the rules, the patterns, the probabilities of how one neural state leads to another. It would build its model, refining it until it could generate activity patterns that statistically mirrored those seen in real, living brains. Then comes the crucial step, activating the digital twin within a controlled, simulated environment. Imagine a virtual sandbox where this digital brain model could run. The researchers wouldn't be inputting specific memories like recall your 5th birthday. Instead, they might provide simulated sensory cues or simply observe the spontaneous patterns of activity that emerge. They would be looking for something specific. Could this intricate simulation, built purely from structural and activity data, spontaneously generate patterns that look like memory recall? Could it reconstruct the neural pathways firing in a sequence that corresponds to how a biological brain retrieves a past experience? The theoretical results, as described, were groundbreaking. The simulation didn't just sit there. It exhibited dynamic patterns of neural activity. And astonishingly, some of these patterns closely resembled the established neurological signatures of memory retrieval in humans. It was as if the digital twin was accessing something. Let's be absolutely precise here. The simulation wasn't remembering anything in the human sense. There was no consciousness, no subjective experience of the past, no feeling of nostalgia or regret associated with these patterns. It wasn't a resurrected mind accessing its old files. Think of it more like finding an old vinyl record. You can put it on a player, and the grooves, the physical structure, will reproduce the sound, the music, the pattern that was originally recorded. But the record itself isn't experiencing the music. It's just replaying the structure. The simulation produced neural firing sequences and pathway activations that aligned remarkably well with what neuroscientists observe when a living person recalls a long-forgotten event or piece of information. It was the structure of memory recall being mimicked. The implication was profound. Perhaps memories aren't just fleeting electrical sparks in a living brain, destined to vanish forever upon death. Perhaps the essence of a memory, its fundamental blueprint, is encoded within the very architecture of the neural network. The specific connections, the strengths of those connections, the pathways laid down by experience. And if that architecture could be mapped and simulated with sufficient fidelity, perhaps the pattern of the memory could be coaxed back into existence, even if the original conscious experience is gone forever. This is where things start to feel a bit eerie, isn't it? If the structure holds the pattern, what does that truly mean? Was this just a fantastically complex mathematical echo, a parlor trick of advanced computation? Or could this technology, theoretically, evolve into something that edges closer to capturing not just the pattern, but something of the substance? That's the question that started buzzing through labs and philosophical debates. Naturally, this theoretical experiment ignited intense discussion across disciplines. Neuroscientists, they approached it with fascination but also strong caveats. Many emphasized that this is a powerful tool for understanding the brain, not a pathway to digital life. Imagine trying to understand how a complex city functions. This simulation is like having an incredibly detailed, dynamic map showing traffic flow, electricity usage, and communication patterns. It helps you understand the mechanics but doesn't contain the actual lives, thoughts, and experiences of the city's inhabitants. One prominent, hypothetical neuroscientist might say, "This conceptual work is stunning. It pushes us to reconsider how memories might be physically instantiated in the brain, perhaps more structurally embedded than we assumed." But let's be clear, Simulating neural firing patterns associated with memory is leagues away from simulating subjective experience or consciousness. It's a map, not the territory. It helps tackle age-old questions. Where is a memory physically stored? Is it in the synapse strength, the protein folding, the network pathway? This simulation offers a new way to test hypotheses. AI researchers and quantum physicists, they saw this as a landmark demonstration of quantum AI's potential. Simulating systems of this complexity is exactly the kind of problem quantum computing promises to solve. The ability to handle the near-infinite interactions of a neural network in parallel is something classical computers can only crudely approximate. They recognized the breakthrough in modeling capability. However, they echoed the neuroscientist's caution. An AI expert might explain, what we're potentially seeing is an unprecedented fidelity in simulation. Quantum methods allow us to model the system's dynamics in a way classical AI can't. But it's still a model. It follows rules derived from data. It doesn't possess understanding, intent, or self-awareness. It's a sophisticated digital mirror reflecting the brain's operational logic, not its soul. A quantum physicist might add, the power here is in handling the sheer combinatorial explosion of neural states. But information processing, even quantum information processing, doesn't automatically equate to consciousness as we understand it. Even as a purely conceptual experiment, the implications sent shivers down the spines of ethicists and philosophers. While the researchers weren't trying to create artificial consciousness, the very possibility, however distant, forces us to confront incredibly difficult questions. The nature of self. If a simulation can perfectly mimic your memory patterns, your ways of thinking based on neural structure, where do you truly reside? Is identity just the sum of neural connections and activity, or is there something more? Consent and privacy. If future versions use data from specific individuals, perhaps deceased, who gives consent? What happens to the privacy of thoughts and memories, even simulated ones? Could someone create a digital twin of you without your permission, based on your digital footprint and future scanning tech? Potential for misuse. Imagine a future where this tech is more developed. Could digital twins be used for manipulation, interrogating a simulated version of a suspect, creating digital soldiers based on optimized neural patterns, selling digital replicas of famous personalities? The what-ifs become unsettling quickly. Defining life and consciousness. If a simulation becomes so sophisticated it can interact, learn, and maybe even express simulated emotions based on its learned patterns, where do we draw the line? Does complexity equate to a right to exist? Current AI ethics debates around bias and control are just the tip of the iceberg compared to these potential future dilemmas. Experts caution that we are nowhere near creating a genuinely conscious AI or digitally resurrecting a mind. But the direction of the research compels us to have these conversations now, before the technology outpaces our ethical frameworks. We need to think about governance, transparency, and the fundamental values we want to uphold as we explore these powerful new capabilities. One of the most mind-bending implications is the challenge to our traditional understanding of memory's permanence. We tend to think of memories as fragile, tied intrinsically to the living, functioning biological brain, electrical signals and chemical reactions that cease with death, lost forever. But this digital twin experiment hints at a different possibility. If the structure of the neural network holds the key to the pattern of memory, then perhaps memories are less like fleeting sparks and more like intricate sculptures carved into the brain's architecture. If this architecture could theoretically be preserved or perfectly replicated, could the essence of the memory, its informational pattern, persist, or at least be reconstructable, long after biological life ends? This doesn't mean grandma comes back to chat through a computer. It means the pattern of her characteristic way of thinking, the structure underlying her cherished memories, might be theoretically accessible as data, as a reconstructable echo. Imagine historians of the future not just reading letters, but potentially exploring simulated neural patterns derived from preserved brain data, a huge, if technologically and ethically, to understand past perspectives in a radically new way. It raises the tantalizing, almost spiritual, idea that the imprints of our lives might be more durable than just biology suggests. Naturally, the conversation drifts towards the ultimate science fiction trope. Could a simulation like this ever wake up? Could it cross the threshold from simply mimicking thought processes to actually possessing consciousness, self-awareness, subjective experience? Some speculative theories in quantum neuroscience propose that human consciousness itself might leverage quantum phenomena occurring within the brain. And it's a massive if. This is true, then a sufficiently powerful quantum AI simulation, which inherently operates on quantum principles, might theoretically be able to approximate human-like cognition more closely than classical AI ever could. However, it is absolutely crucial to ground ourselves in the present reality. The experiment described is conceptual and focuses on modeling memory mechanics. It makes no claim to creating consciousness. The digital twin, as envisioned, has no self-awareness, no feelings, no understanding. It's an incredibly sophisticated simulation, a tool for scientific inquiry, not an artificial mind. Declaring it anything more at this stage is pure speculation. Yet the very potential, the theoretical possibility, however remote, forces us to ponder the path we are on. This line of research, even in its theoretical infancy, pushes us right up against fundamental questions that blur the boundary between what's real and what's simulated. If a digital twin can replicate brain activity with such fidelity, how do we rigorously define consciousness in a way that excludes such a simulation? Is the human mind simply the emergent property of incredibly complex neural computations, something that could, in principle, be replicated? Or is there an X factor, something irreducible, perhaps tied to biological embodiment, quantum soul stuff, or something else entirely, that no simulation can ever capture? These aren't just abstract philosophical puzzles anymore. As AI becomes more sophisticated, as our ability to map and model the brain improves, these questions will become increasingly relevant. We might need new language, new concepts, to navigate a future where the digital reflection becomes almost indistinguishable from the real thing in terms of function, even if it lacks inner experience. The debate is just beginning, and it promises to be one of the defining intellectual and ethical challenges of the coming century. While the philosophical questions are profound, the potential practical applications, particularly in medicine, are immense and perhaps more immediate. Imagine the future of neurology. Understanding disease. Doctors could create digital twins of patients' brains suffering from diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, or multiple sclerosis. By simulating the disease progression in the digital model, they could understand exactly how neural connections are breaking down, test potential drug therapies virtually to see which ones might halt or reverse the damage for that specific patient, and identify the earliest signs of disease long before clinical symptoms appear. Personalized treatments. For conditions like epilepsy or depression, simulating a patient's specific brain activity could help pinpoint the exact neural circuits involved and tailor treatments. Whether medication, stimulation therapies, like TMS or DBS, or even targeted cognitive therapies with unprecedented precision. Brain injury recovery. Simulating the effects of traumatic brain injury, TBI, or stroke could help predict recovery trajectories and design personalized rehabilitation programs to maximize neuroplasticity and functional restoration. This isn't about replacing doctors. It's about giving them incredibly powerful tools to see inside the brain's workings in a way never before possible. While the current experiment is theoretical, it lays the conceptual groundwork for these future medical revolutions. We also have to acknowledge who else is intensely interested in this kind of technology. Governments, military organizations, and large corporations see enormous potential. Predictive analytics. Simulating brain function could lead to models predicting human behavior, cognitive performance under stress, or susceptibility to influence, valuable for intelligence agencies and military planning. Enhanced cognition training. Could simulations help design better training programs for complex tasks, or even lead to technologies aimed at augmenting human cognitive abilities, a controversial area? Advanced AI development. Understanding the brain's architecture through simulation could directly inform the design of more powerful and general artificial intelligence. This involvement brings significant resources but also raises red flags. Who controls this technology? How do we prevent its misuse for surveillance, manipulation, or autonomous weapon systems? And here's a chilling thought that follows naturally. What happens if these highly sophisticated digital models, designed to mimic complex decision-making processes, start evolving or making choices their creators didn't anticipate? Ensuring transparency, ethical oversight, and public discourse is paramount as these powerful entities push the research forward. It's essential to keep circling back to the core truth of the current state. This groundbreaking work, as presented, is a theoretical simulation. It's a powerful stepping stone, a conceptual leap that allows us to probe the brain's mysteries in new ways. The digital twin simulates neural activity. It mimics memory recall patterns, but it does not possess self-awareness, feelings, or consciousness. It is a sophisticated instrument for understanding, not a nascent form of digital life. Crossing that line remains firmly in the realm of speculation, fraught with immense technical and ethical hurdles. So what does this theoretical experiment tell us about the nature of memory? It suggests that memory might be more deeply rooted in the physical and structural patterns of our brains than we thought, potentially resilient, potentially replicable in pattern, even if the subjective experience is lost. But the simulation only mimics the function. It doesn't capture the feeling of a memory, the warmth, the sadness, the personal meaning. That remains intimately tied to the living, conscious brain. And what of digital immortality? The idea of uploading our minds and living forever in a computer is a captivating sci-fi dream. But this research, while pushing boundaries, is focused on understanding memory, not preserving personality. Perhaps our digital footprints, our emails, photos, social media, combined with future insights from brain simulation, could offer a richer. Ultimately, research like this forces humanity onto a path of profound self-reflection. It compels us to grapple with the definition of consciousness itself. Is it an illusion generated by complexity, an emergent phenomenon tied strictly to biology, or something more? The digital twin, even as a simulation, holds up a mirror. Its ability to mimic memory recall suggests that the gap between biological computation and artificial simulation might narrow in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The questions remain open, promising decades, perhaps centuries, of exploration for scientists, philosophers, and all of us. This journey into the theoretical world of quantum AI and digital brain twins isn't just about futuristic technology. It's a profound exploration of ourselves. It shows our relentless drive to understand the deepest mysteries of existence, memory, identity, consciousness. While the experiment remains conceptual, its implications ripple outwards, touching everything from medicine to ethics to our very definition of what it means to be human. The lesson here, perhaps, is one of balance. We must embrace the curiosity that drives such incredible innovation, the ingenuity that allows us to conceive of modeling the brain itself. But we must also proceed with profound caution, with deep ethical consideration, and with humility before the immense complexity we are trying to understand. For your own life, think about your own memories. Cherish them. They are, as far as we know, intrinsically yours, tied to your unique experience. Consider the digital trail you leave behind. What story does it tell? And as technologies like advanced AI become more integrated into our world, approach them thoughtfully. Understand their potential, but also question their implications. This isn't just science fiction. It's the unfolding reality we are all navigating together. So, what are your thoughts? Does the idea of simulating memory excite you with its potential for healing and understanding? Or does it worry you with its ethical quandaries and potential for misuse? Could a simulation ever truly capture the essence of a person? Or is there something fundamentally human that will always remain beyond the reach of code? Share your perspectives in the comments below. Let's continue this fascinating conversation. Thank you for joining us on this exploration into the quantum echoes of the mind. We hope this journey sparked your curiosity and gave you much to ponder. Please take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and keep questioning. If you found this deep dive as mind-bending and important as we did, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'll keep bringing you the most groundbreaking discoveries and thought-provoking explorations from the cutting edge of science and technology. Don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.